So why do people come to Sandwich Fair, and what do they do? Like,
From a livestock perspective,
yeah.
we just bring them here to show off the animals that we raise on the farm.
And then the farms, when you focus on like livestock farming and stuff, do you focus on crops as well, or is it like?
It's about 50-50. My family, we do crop farm as well. We raise corn and soybeans.
So did you like grow up on a farm? Is that
I did, yes.
So do most people here, do they grow up like that and then they like continue on as farmers?
You know,
or?
they're not necessarily. I don't farm now. My brother farms. I actually work at Downers Grove.
Okay. But how do people get into farming then?
How do they get into farming? It's usually generational.
Okay.
It's way too expensive for someone new to get into farming right now because of land costs. So it's usually generational.
Right. And then about your crops, like when you sell them, and stuff, how do you get them to stores?
How do we get them to stores?
Yeah, it's like through a third party or like.
Oh, so what we do is our crops actually get sold through a grain elevator. The grain elevator then sells it to a further processor.
Okay. And
It's many stages that get it to the store.
okay. And then, how would you say, since you've said that farming's, you grew up here, right, like on a farm and stuff, how would you say that farming's like changed, and how, like, what kind of disposition would you need, and how has farming changed since?
Well, farming has changed dramatically just because of the technology. Farming now, I mean, everybody thinks farming is just a unintelligent occupation. Unfortunately, it's not anymore. There's a lot of chemistry that goes into it, a lot of technology from a computer science standpoint. You have to understand GPS, etc.
Okay. And what sort of disposition would you
Want to
say?
have someone that is easygoing, because Mother Nature dictates everything. I mean, there's some years you have to plan ahead, because there's some years you'll make no money because of Mother Nature's droughts, etc. And then there's some years that you'll do okay, and you have to save that money for those bad years.
Oh, so is that like ups and downs then?
Yes.
All right.
Good translation.
And then, what about government intervention and like subsidies and stuff? How does that work?
How does that work? You have to apply for it, and you have to qualify for subsidies.
So do a
But
lot of
most subsidies are going away because the farm bill isn't going to get passed.
okay.
So a lot of people think that farmers have a lot of subsidies, but they've actually been cut back by the government, because most of the money is going to welfare and things like that instead.
All right. All right.
And
yesterday we spent washing cows,
but it
keeping
is
them
her
clean,
style
getting
and
them all ready for the
angularity
show,
that takes
and
her
then
over the
today's
biggest
showing.
pepper in the
Today's
class.
the show.
I'd
They're
like to see the
starting
biggest
that now.
pepper, a little more cleaner
And
throughout.
then
She also
the rest
has
of the week
her
they're
leg
just kind of
issues
here for
when
people
she's
to
on the
see.
move. She
So,
tends to get
where are you
stretched out
from?
sometimes.
We're from
and,
Earlville, Illinois.
That
Is it like a
takes
family
away
thing,
from her,
or-
but a
It
real
is.
nice
It's
class
a family
of
farm. It was
Jersey heaven.
established in 1936.
So it's been like 3 generations.
It has been passed down from father to son, so it's just a big family.
A cow farm then?
Yeah. So we have cows, and we have some organic grain, and also we have sheep,
Oh, yeah.
and then chickens.
Do you plan to stay in farming then?
Yeah. My husband, I married into it actually.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I love it.
Were you always around animals and stuff growing up, or was it like a transition?
It was a bit of a transition. I grew up more on a like hobby farm. We had animals, but it was more for the fun of having animals, whereas this is to produce, to make money. It's still fun. We still love them, but it's, we're getting more of an income.
Jersey
So I
summer
like
yearlings,
Are
please
there a lot
come
of like
towards the arena.
crop farmers and stuff here? I think we prepared to meet a lot of them. I've seen a lot of livestock people here. Or
I don't think there's a lot of crop farmers that actually are I'm sure they're at the fair walking around or whatever, but they bring their crops to show. There are a few in the foods barn or whatever. There's some crops, but they don't have to like be there to take care of their crops. So
yeah, okay.
so they're not here to talk to as much.
Then-
but my husband is a crop farmer actually.
Then do you go to a lot of fairs like Sandwich, or is it just?
Yeah, we actually go to, let's see, I think this is our 5th fair. We go to Morris, we go to Princeton, we go to the Bureau County Fair up in Belvedere, and then we have a 4-H fair, and then this is our final fair.
Oh,
it's like
wow.
the finale.
Okay. Then, like, what's the purpose of going to all these fairs and then getting your livestock judged? Like, what does it do for you as farmers? Like, why do you do it every year?
The biggest thing is actually either for fun, because it is enjoyable, and we don't really make money. I mean, some people and really big fairs, if you have really good show cows, you can make money taking them to fairs, but we do it more for this, for you guys, for people to see the animals.
Spread the farming community.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
It's nice to come out. You know, there's kids that come through here who've never seen a live cow, and they get to touch the cow and see the cow.
Yeah. It's like, oh my god, a cow.
Exactly. That's why we do it.
I'm on horses a lot, but not cows.
Yeah. It's
So, you said that you were from somewhere else, right? Where was that?
yeah. Earlville. It's about 20 miles from here.
So, how has that stayed like a farmland type of area more than places like we're from Naperville? So, but there's a little farmland. Like if you go a little out of Naperville and into Plainfield, but in Naperville there's almost no farmland.
Yeah.
So why did this place stay more of a farmland community? Why would you think so?
I don't know. You know, I think it's. I think a lot of it is just like where you guys are. It's closer to the big city. It's just kind of like extended out further and further. Maybe eventually this area won't be rural. I mean, Sandwich is getting a little less rural than when I was like a kid. But I guess there's not as many jobs other than farming from where I am. Most of the people that live around me are farmers too, you know, and so that's their job. There's not a lot of other jobs, and you can't really, you can't just like knock on someone's door and say, hey, by the way, I want to be a farmer. Can I apply for the job? You know, that's, it's more you're born into it.
So, would you say that with a lot of people, like, oh no, we talked to some people that said they didn't work in farming anymore. Would you say a lot of people are like leaving the family farm industry? Or?
I think a lot of kids, like I said, it's hard to get into it because you have, a lot of times you have to either be born into it or something like that. So I think a lot of kids that grow up on the farm, they maybe want to do something else. Maybe they're bored of it. And also, there's really not a lot of money in farming. I mean, especially cows, especially dairy. There's not a lot of money. There's so many rules and restrictions and different things you have to do that it's hard to actually make money.
That's why do people still do it?
Nice
then?
class this summer, yearling heifers here in the Holstein
I
breed.
can say why we
The heifer
still
wins
do
the
it.
class, just overall style and angularity
Just
when you get a good
because-
look at her.
I guess partly because
New
that's
environment,
what
I
we've always
understand,
done.
but when you
And
really get to
partly
analyzing her,
because
she wins
we
the
believe
class
it.
kind of handily.
We believe that these
Just
animals
up through
are
her front
important,
end,
that
her
we believe
elegance
in
up through her front end,
providing
the
people
cleanliness
with
and
milk,
neck, and
with
more
good
curvature
animals
through the
that are
thigh, and then
healthy
coming out
and
with this
strong.
real strong,
And
powerful
as far
heifer in
as
second.
the,
I'd like to lengthen the head and neck
as far
on
as
this
the
heifer
grain
coming out
farming
in
of
second,
it,
maybe
my husband's
clean her up
an
through the
organic
front
grain
end.
farmer.
But she's got the right
believe
parts,
that
she's
that's-
wide
that's
through
the
the rump
best
and wide
way
through the
that he
pins.
wants to
I
provide
just like to
people
clean
with
her up
products
throughout.
that they
It is
can
her advantage and
be
depth of
happy
fore and
with.
rear rib that takes her
You
out
said that
over
this
this
was
heifer
this
coming
was
out in
becoming
third.
less rural
But I
than when
will
you were a
grant the
kid.
heifer
How
in
has it
third has
changed?
more
Like,
depth of
what do you
chest
mean?
than this fourth place heifer coming out. It
I
is
guess
the overall
housing,
straightness
there's a
and
lot
lines
more,
that takes this fourth place heifer over
there's
the
a lot
fifth
more,
place
like,
heifer.
Subdivisions. I would call them like subdivisions.
Ooh, we saw a lot of fast food restaurants coming
There
in.
are a lot of fast food restaurants coming in. More, I mean, some of it's good, you know, like more gas stations, fast food, you know, stuff like that. But then there's, you know, some of the farmland is getting taken, you know, cut into. So to me, that's sad. You know, I want people to be able to move out from the city and live out here. So that's nice. But I don't like to see, you know, the farmland being turned into some industrial like plant or something. That makes me sad.
All right.
Hi, we're here at the culinary competition.
At Sandwich Fair, Illinois. As you can see here, there's variations of what is this pumpkin bread?
They're
Pumpkin
making
bread.
pumpkin bread today.
Yeah, it looks really good. Yeah.
And
gonna
we're gonna
put
wait
this
till the end so we can try some.
Look, they're like bread in the shape of a pumpkin. Do you see that?
I don't think that's what pumpkin bread is, Elaine.
I know, but like basically it is.
Bread in the shape of a pumpkin.
Yeah, look.
There you have it,
Literal
people.
definition of pumpkin bread.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's pumpkin inside of it too.
It's still filming.
Yeah.
Get involved with Sandwich Fair and like when?
I have been with the Sandwich Fair since I was a little bitty girl. Because my parents and that were involved here. And so it's grew up with it. And as you get older, you just take the positions of what some of your family members have.
So do you grow up on a farm, or
I grew up on a farm.
are you still involved with all the farm work and like?
No, when I grew up, I married someone that was a police officer, and we live in town, and so we don't farm anymore.
So do you all know each other really well then in your town, or like are you close?
It's a small town, so yes, we all kind of grew up together. We went to school together, and we stayed in the community.
Do most of you stay?
I would say maybe a third
Of kids that grow up stay? So are all the towns around here like close knit, like communities like that, or?
Every small town will have their closeness. So yes, there's Somonauk and Sandwich and Plano and Yorkville. I think as they grow and they get bigger, you lose that closeness. But all in all, a lot of people know everyone.
So you've been seeing development over the course of time where you've been staying?
Oh yes, yes. The subdivisions come, the communities all get larger, and so yes, they're much larger. There was a lot of like farmland and just empty land around when I was growing up here.
When we were your age, we didn't even have a McDonald's.
No restaurants, barely.
Nothing. There was nothing.
No, you had to go into the big town like Aurora or DeKalb
Yeah.
to be able to do your shopping, that type of thing. Yeah.
So since you said stuff has changed, do you know like why are a lot of people like moving out here? Like why are subdivisions coming? If it seems to be like relatively the same.
I think
environment.
people kind of like I think they feel more secure possibly. They don't have the threat of what they have in large cities, some of the crime and that type of thing. And I think that's mainly why they want the setback type of.
I know people who've moved out here because they wanted to get their kids out of the environment that they were in before. And I don't know where they were from, but they just didn't like where they were, so they wanted to come out here.
So as far as like crime goes in your community and stuff, is it like how is?
Well, every town will have its crime, but the crime that we have might be speeders and that type of thing. We don't have quite the vandalism or murders or that
Which is
type
not
of
to say
thing.
that we don't,
No,
but it's not to the extent.
like Chicago,
Yeah.
like you hear on television.
But then,
Like somebody broke into somebody's car the other day, and it was all around. Everybody knew about it. So everybody knew about it.
It's what?
it would be more of a fright if it happened here, because in Chicago, like you said, people break into other people's cars on like every 2 hours.
Yeah, I was out in winter visit my aunt last weekend.
I would say we are not. How would I want to say it? Crime is in every town, no matter where you are at. But maybe the frequency that we have those types of activities, it's not as often as in the bigger communities.
They are the back pages. Give them